Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome editor, This is Africa, Financial Times, Plenary Akinola.
Good afternoon, everybody. Am I on? Is this on? Can everybody hear me? Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the next panel discussion. My name is Plenary Akinola. I'm the editor of This is Africa at the Financial Times, and I'm going to be moderating the following conversation. Now, we're fairly pressed for time, so we're going to have a very structured discussion up here. But basically, what we're addressing, or the title of the discussion, is what inspired me to change the world. Tales of challenge and innovation. And we're going to get first-hand accounts from innovators who are putting groundbreaking solutions out there that are redefining the global economy, redefining what it means to do business in the 21st century. And what we're going to try to do is get a practical sense of what it means to be an innovator, and how and why it is important to leverage innovation to not only change the way we do business, but also to help develop communities. Those are the themes we're going to explore. Allow me to very quickly introduce our speakers before we go into the questions. To my immediate left is Ethel Kofi, who is the founder of Adel Technologies and a President Obama Washington Fellow out of Ghana in the UK. To her left is Nick Moon, who is founding director of Kickstart International. And last but not least, we have local representation in Kamal Regad, who is CEO of Himzat.ma. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. There are basically three questions that I'd like to sort of use to structure this discussion. The first question is in the title of the panel discussion, which is what inspired you to change the world? But secondly, two themes that I'd really like to pick up on are how your innovations are helping to build and develop the communities in which you work, and why that's important. And last but not least, to also get a sense of how your innovations are redefining the global economy, redefining the big picture around what it means to do business in the 21st century. So going to the first question, and I'll start with you, Ethel. What inspired you to change the world?
So I don't think I woke up one day and thought I wanted to change the world. So I might not have the right answer for you there. But I will say that I have three passions, and that's technology, entrepreneurship, and women leadership. And I run my company, Adel, and we work with businesses and the big nonprofits to use technology to enable them to solve the problems they have in business. So strategy and technology to be able to help businesses win. I also run an accelerator that helps startups scale in multiple markets. Again, it's about growing the African brand and growing multinational African companies. So I think for me, it's very much about, I saw a problem, I wanted to solve it. I didn't know whether it's going to change the world or whether it's changing the world, but I saw a problem and I wanted to solve it.
Great, thank you, Ethel. Nick, was it a conscious decision for you to change the world, and what inspired you, if so?
Well, thanks, Plenary, for that question. I'd just like to answer it by saying this. Don't judge people by appearances. I think you may think that you're looking at a 59-year-old white man. Actually, you're looking at a 32-year-old Kenyan. I came to this continent 32 years ago as a contractor to build some music recording studios in Togo and Nigeria. And what I discovered when I came here, to my great astonishment and delight, was around me were people who worked extremely hard, who thought out of the box, were enterprising, innovative, industrious, and extremely thoughtful. And I was so impressed by this quality of, if you like, enterprise, that I thought, well, how come that so many people are using their smarts and their time and their energy just to stay alive or to survive to the next day? Surely there must be a way of converting that energy into something much, much more productive and much, much more value-adding than I currently see. So that was my first thought. What I do now, or what I have been doing since around that time, is to develop technologies specifically in the interests of people at the so-called bottom of the economic pyramid, and then manufacture them, because these are generally machines and equipment, manufacture them, distribute them, market them, and sell them. And I aim exclusively on the poorest people in this planet, who are smallholder farmers in Africa, whom I see as not a problem at all. They are actually a solution waiting to happen. They just require a few of the constraints that currently prevent them from making more productive use of their smarts and energy to be removed, and then they can create collectively an enormous amount of wealth and employment and jobs.
Great, thank you very much for the introduction, Nick. We'll get back to some of the points you've raised, especially this issue of solutions that service the bottom of the pyramid, which is especially relevant in the context of where Africa is at the moment. Kamal, over to you. Give us a bit of background on Hamzat and where you're coming from, and to you the same question: what inspired you to change the world?
Thank you. So after living so many years in the US, I experienced how e-commerce has changed the way business was done, and how it changed habits for consumers, and looking back in Morocco and back in the days, like in 2010, like there was no e-commerce. So basically the question was, I mean, we are just like most people in other countries in the US or in Europe. We all dress the same, we all like the same food, we all like to buy the same things. And what is different about Morocco? Why isn't it picking up? So my idea was, my goal was to come back to Morocco and start something that's going to change habits within the Moroccan community and how business was done. So basically, we were one of the first e-commerce companies. We started with the daily deal model, which was an easy way to penetrate the market, which was served as a stepping stone into real e-commerce, where we built H-Mall, which is a Mizat Mall, which is a marketplace that allows thousands of merchants throughout the country connect with millions of consumers in Morocco, regardless of their location. So basically what we do for them, we offer them a platform they can sell, and then we manage logistics, payment issues, we manage everything as soon as a consumer places an order. And since 2010, 2011, we've seen a lot of companies have been encouraged to do the same and enter the market and contribute to this change.
Great. Thank you, Kamal. Now, it's evident from all three of you that, and I believe with the exception of Ethel, the word community was used, and sort of having an impact seems to go hand in hand with what you do. And it would be great to get more of a sense of why that's important, first of all, and how in practical terms you go about having that positive impact. Ethel, I'd like to start with you on that. You mentioned that you also run an accelerator as well as Adel Technologies, but give us a bit of a sense of where the community aspect fits in here and why that matters to you.
Well, so for me, as I alluded to before, that the idea that we have very few truly multinational original African companies is something that bothered me. Now, it's wonderful to run a business and make a profit and buy a car for your family and pay your bills and take care of just your family and pay 2 or 3 people that you work with. But how much more impact will you have on your community? And if you are employing hundreds, 300s, that you have enough money to spend on as a company on CSR initiatives that will build up your community. So this is where we're coming from. So for us, it's helping the most scalable products and ideas from Africa to truly grow. And in that, bringing along not only families and not just being micro companies, but growing the communities of truly multinational or regional African companies.
Thank you. Nick, you operate in a sector where it's impossible to exist without having to think about the community, especially if you're working with smallholder farmers in the context of sub-Saharan Africa. I'm assuming it's fundamental to what you do, but in practical terms, how does it work? I mean, how can you have this community-focused approach while also having sort of a business model behind it?
Sure. Well, I'd like to make a point to begin with, which is that very, very poor people are no different to very, very rich people, except that they just don't have very much money. So their primary concern is to use what they know and what they have in any way which will generate the purchasing power that they need to have in order to translate their needs into demands in the marketplace, which can then pull the market in and allow it to work for them and them for it in ways which in many parts of this continent is not yet happening. There's a big gap between the have-a-lots and the have-nots, and we really do need to find practical market-driven solutions to closing that gap and building the kind of wealth and the middle class that is currently rather fragile and lacking in the continent. So this is just human nature. People will invest. If they don't have money, they will invest their time and their sweat and their emotions and what little money they can get or can have in any activity which promises them that kind of return, the returns which they need in order to be able to provide for their families, put food on the table, send the kids to school, get health care, and then once they've taken care of those things, diversify their investments into other areas of productive activity. So what are the constraints which prevent them currently from doing so? It's three things generally. One is, although there are a lot of solutions that have been developed, they are simply unaware of them. Secondly, even if they're aware of them, they may not fully appreciate or understand the value that they promise. And thirdly, even if they've got those things together, oftentimes the actual solution is not available to them in a convenient, affordable, accessible way. So we need to address those three problems. And they're not very big problems, incidentally. Those are the three bottlenecks, in my view, which currently constrain this community, which actually is the majority of people in this continent, from really expressing themselves in the way that we would all like to see them do. So how do we deal with this? Well, remember that people don't have money, and money is difficult often for them to get. So they don't need money-saving technologies, they need money-making technologies. They've got a lot of time often on their hands, so time-saving technology isn't necessarily going to hit the button for them. They've got a lot of time and they would just want to spend that. So one example that we have is a human-powered water or irrigation pump, which sucks water from 20 meters below ground, and having got it to the surface, pushes it directly straight up vertically or up the steep side of a hill. The reason this is useful is that it allows people who are currently dependent on rain-fed agriculture in an era of climate change to actually grow more food, grow it more often, and grow higher value crops, and transform from subsistence farming to commercial agriculture in a matter of a few months. So that's how we do it.
How many people have you been able to reach through Kickstart International?
Well, we have been able to facilitate the establishment now of about 165,000 new businesses. These are mostly in East Africa and increasingly now in Southern Africa, in Malawi and Zambia. A few of them too in Mali and Burkina Faso. Those businesses provide for the needs now of about 850,000 people.
Wow, so genuine impact there. Kamal, you, in your opening statement, you made the point that part of the motivation was to change consumption behavior in Morocco. How important is community and contributing and helping to build communities in the context of what you do. And when we say community, what does that really mean?
Well, in our case, it would be community has two sides. There is the business side and the consumer side. For example, for the business side, I mean, along with other startups in this sector, we've been working hard over the past years into educating the market from both sides, from the consumer and from the vendor or partner or merchant standpoint. So we've spent a lot of resources, and on a daily basis, we continue to educate people on how to buy online, and at the same time on businesses how to take advantage of this new technology in Morocco, empower them with tools in order to improve their businesses, their service, and make people come back for more business. So basically, it is really important for us, the community. I mean, we invest heavily in a lot of resources into it, and I think we've done a good job, and it's growing year over year, and yeah. So
now I'd like to move on to the question of how innovation, and especially the sort of the initiatives, the projects, the businesses of the people on stage here are contributing to the bigger picture, the macro picture around this, and the global economy. And we all intuitively understand that innovation is important to reform markets, to evolve markets. But in tangible terms, what are we talking about here? Ethel, back to you now. Your company is called Adel Technologies and Consulting. Now, consulting. It's a fairly established business, but you're doing it differently, right? How are you doing it differently, and why? And what's the sort of bigger picture around a new approach and different approach to service like this?
Well, so we at Adel truly believe that technology is an enabler. So technology gives you the tools to take you from point A to point B, and we translate that in two ways. So with the for-profits or for the business organizations we work with, we want to come in as a partner. We want to sit with that client and understand where they want to go, what their strategy is, what do they want to achieve as a business. And then we will look at how they work, what their processes are, how they work, and then begin to see the places where technology can become an enabler. So I'll give you an example. So you have a brand that says, a manufacturer, and they say, well, we've got so much trouble with the finance, the receipt goes to the finance department and it's missing and we can't find the links. And sitting with them and understanding strategically where they're going in the next year, in the next 12 months, in the next 5 years, and building them almost a platform to enable all the different departments to be able to connect and flow, so that as a CEO, the CEO of the company can sit in his office and understand what's happening in his business. So it's not there is a tool, it's exciting, and we're going to plug it in, but it is, we want to support you to get to where you need to get to as a business. And that could mean that we do you as something as low denominational as an SMS campaign, because you reach your customers via SMS. Or it would be something as grand as a customer relationship management system that touches all the touch points of your company. But it is, again, coming in from a strategic point, and looking at ways that technology enables and adds value rather than just building up, interesting tech. Really.
So going beyond tweeting for the sake of tweeting,
yes,
and leveraging technology for genuine strategic value.
Yes.
And do you, in terms of the scalability of this, is this the way of the future? Is this a growth industry?
Yeah, so I think that at the end of the day, technology that is appropriate is the technology that wins out. And this is very scalable. We're seeing this happen all over the world. We're seeing that it's not I have an accounting system because I need an accounting system. And sometimes I will tell a client, Excel works for you, and it's fine.
Yeah.
And at this point of where you are, use Excel.
Great, thank you, Ethel. Nick, agriculture in Africa has become big business, big news, potentially a game-changing sector, not just for food security on the continent, but globally. But it's not going to happen without some meaningful participation from smallholder farmers. So in terms of the macro picture around this, the agricultural sector, the agribusiness sector, what's the significance of organizations like Kickstart and having innovative approaches to bringing these people into the value chain?
Well, if we get it right, Lanre, Africa can not just feed itself; it can feed the world. I think most people are familiar with the statistic that there are 7 billion people on the planet now. They're going to be 10 billion before very long, and we need to increase food productivity by about 60-70% in order to meet that need. The question is where and how and when can this be done? And the answers to me are very straightforward. They're here in this continent, which is so big and which has, as a proportion of its overall area, a greater amount of arable land than anywhere else in the world. That land is sadly mismanaged or undermanaged. We have plenty of people who have an enormous amount of energy and smarts and are looking for ways to use them. So there's plenty of labor, if you can put it that way. And we also have plenty of water. There's enough rain falls on this continent to meet the needs of 9 billion people in a year, but we're not managing it properly. However, if we take these ingredients and put them together, it is very clear that collectively, I'm very interested in this whole idea of an aggregate solution, a million little pieces, come together to form something enormous. So again, I want to emphasize that if we get it right, we can actually transform what we see as a hugely poor and needy population of smallholder farmers into the very industry that is going to ensure that we feed the world. That is big picture stuff.
Are we heading in the right direction? Is progress being made in that respect?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Are we heading in the right direction in that respect?
Yes, I think we're heading in the right direction, but we need to go a little faster.
Thank you, Nick. Kamal, from your standpoint, the industry you operate in, how do you see yourself contributing to the bigger picture, and where do you see the need for innovation, and how can innovation really sort of take e-commerce into the 21st century?
Well, apart from the business that we generate for other businesses, we supply them with tools and technology that allows them to excel, empower them to sell more, to make people come back and everything, by providing them, for example, with inventory system for small businesses who cannot afford to buy an ERP or a system to manage their stock, a smart system that gives them an idea about their stock movement, the best-selling items, the products they need to acquire more than the others. And at the same time, for other people consumers in different parts of Morocco, I mean, with e-commerce, we allow them to. We basically supply them with things that they don't have around them. If they need to buy something, a computer or something, they don't have a large choice. So by going to the internet and using e-commerce, they have access to a larger selection at the best prices. So I think this has changed the way people shop and the way people do business than from before. So.
And is the vision? Are you active only in Morocco at the moment?
At the moment, yes.
And what's the vision? Is the vision to go Pan-African, to go global?
Absolutely. I mean, we do have a travel business, a travel website. For now, it's only available for Morocco, but since the start, it was made with a .com and different languages, and our goal is to go in other countries in Africa, first to start with the French-speaking countries, and that's on the roadmap for 2015. So, yeah.
Right. Well, all the best with that.
Thank you.
We are unfortunately already out of time. We only have 20 minutes for this. There's clearly a lot more to be said about the various issues that we've touched on. But please join me in thanking Ethel, Nick, and Kamal for the insights and the practical practical stories and analysis of what it means to be an innovator and why it's so important for innovation to not only build communities, but also change the way we do business on a bigger scale. Thank you very much.